Okay, good morning. So today we'll see the experimental measurements and evaluation of results. So generally the calibration experiment is divided into three main parts. So while we are going to be performing the calibration, so there are different ways of calibrating any instrument here. So in this here we are going to be calibrating the system by giving the known inputs to the system and finding the output values. So these outputs are going to be compared with the inputs. So this can be graphically plotted by taking the input on the x-axis and output on the y-axis. So this calibration experiment is divided into three main parts here. So output versus input and output versus modifying input, output versus with interfacing input. So this modifying input and interfacing input both are called as the environmental inputs here. So here, while we are going to be performing the calibration experiment, we have to equate the modifying input and the interfacing input to be equal to 0. So then only we have to perform the calibration experiment. But practically this is not possible. So in this case, we are going to be taking an example of a pressure transducer. So how we are going to be calibrating the pressure transducer? So this pressure transducer is going to be calibrated under standard environmental conditions. So standard environmental conditions means the modifying input and the interfacing input should be equal to 0. Okay. So first of all we will see what is modifying input and what is interfacing input. So coming to interfacing input, so the interfacing input is the input which is going to be interfering the output values. So if you take a pressure transducer which is used in the field, so in the field we are going to be having large number of environmental parameters like temperature, pressure, moisture content. So this temperature, pressure and moisture content can be taken as the environmental inputs. Okay. So here the input for the pressure transducer is the pressure and the output is the voltage. So while we are going to be performing the calibration process, we have to keep the input value to be at constant. So in this case, the pressure input is going to be kept at the minimum value, and then we are going to be observing the output value. So here we are taking three environmental inputs: temperature, moisture and humidity. So in order to study the effect of these environmental inputs on the output, we have to choose any one environmental input. We are going to be choosing temperature, and moisture and humidity content are going to be kept to 0. So then by the variation of this temperature, what is the change we are going to be getting in the output value, that is going to be observed. So here in this case, in the pressure transducer, we are going to be keeping the input pressure to be constant. So even though if you keep the input pressure to be constant, we are going to be getting some changes in the output value. So the changes in the output value is due to the change in the environmental temperature. Okay. So then we are going to be noting the ratio of the change in output to the change in the temperature. So change in the temperature means it is taken as the environmental input, that is taken as Ki. Ki means it is an coefficient which tells the about the ratio of change in output to the change in environmental input temperature. Okay. So in this way we are going to be studying the effect of the other environmental parameters like humidity, moisture content on the change in the output here. Okay. So then it is why we are going to be calling it as the interfacing input here means, so this interfacing input is going to be affecting the changes in the output value of the instrument. So similarly, we are having another input called as modifying input. So this modifying input will cause the change in the sensitivity of the instrument. That is, this modifying input will do some modifications or changes in the input value of the instrument. So in the case of the pressure transducer, the input of the instrument is pressure. So this pressure is going to be affected by the changes in the environmental conditions. Okay. So then the modifying input is going to be neglected by including this coefficient in the output equation. So the coefficient is Km is equal to 1 by I into delta naught delta of 0 by delta of Im. So in this case we are going to be keeping the input to be at I minimum plus I max by 2. Then I will become 2 by I minimum plus I max. That is, I is going to be kept at the average of the minimum value and the maximum value. That is, I is equal to I minimum plus I maximum by 2. Then it will become 2 by I minimum plus I maximum into delta naught by delta Im. This is called as a modifying coefficient. So why we have to find out this interfacing coefficient and modifying coefficient means, so you see the previous equation. So in this equation we are having the output depends upon the input. It is called as the regression polynomial. So regression polynomial means the output depends upon the input. So the same output depends upon the other parameters like the coefficients of the input value also. So we can write the output equation as O of I is equal to summation of Q is equal to 0 to Q is equal to M AQ IQ. That is, it can be written as A naught plus I to the power of 0 plus A1 I to the power of 1 plus A2 I to the power of 2 plus A3 I cube plus etc. up to AM I to the power of M. So the output is the sum of all the inputs multiplied by their coefficients. So these coefficients are going to be used for making the environmental inputs to be negligible. That is, these will modify or reduce the modifying inputs and the interfering inputs on the instrument here. So here, while we are going to be performing the calibration process, we have to perform whether the hysteresis of that instrument is going to be good or not. So the hysteresis can be defined as, so in this case we are going to be increasing the input values from the minimum to the maximum. That can be taken as the upset. Upset means we are taking a group of input values and the output values for the increasing of the input. And if after increasing to the maximum value, again the input is going to be decreased from I max to I minimum. Again we are going to be noting the input values and the output values. That is called as the downset. So here we are taking the upset and the downset. So for the two sets we are going to be indicating in the form of a graphical form. So then we will be getting the graph in this way. Okay. So this curve is called as the up curve and this curve is called as the down curve. So here we will be having a wide difference between the up curve and the down curve. That indicates the hysteresis. Okay. So in this figure, the difference between the up curve and the down curve is very less. Then it is called as an insignificant hysteresis. So the hysteresis will be very less here. Okay. And coming to the deviation, so the deviation can be defined as it is a departure of the measured value from the true value. So the measured value can be indicated as O of I minus O of I. O of I means it is called as a true value. So the difference between the measured value and the true value is called as the deviation. Okay. So in order to detect any hysteresis, we are going to be framing two equations. So these two equations are called as the regressive equations. So one is for the increasing and another one is for the decreasing. So by seeing these two equations, the mathematical equations will be the same, but the input is going to be increasing in the first case. In the latter case, the input is going to be decreasing. So in order to find out the non-linearity function in between these two, so the non-linearity function can be expressed as n of I is equal to O of I minus ki plus a. So this ki plus a can be taken as the ideal value and O of I can be taken as the practical value. So the difference between the practical and the ideal value can give the non-linearity between the curves here. Okay. So finally coming to the repeatability test. So repeatability test means the signal input I should be held constant at mid-range values and the output O measured over an extended period. So if you keep the input value to be constant, then the output should be constant. But in this case, we are going to be getting some changes in the output value. So those changes are due to the interfacing input and the modifying inputs here. So even though we are going to be getting some changes in the output value, all those output values are going to be recorded, and then we are going to be taking the mean of all those output values. If so, the result will be the true value. Okay. So then if you want to find out the standard deviation for the output of the instrument, so just you take the square root of the mean square deviation. Okay. So the expression is square root of 1 by n summation of k is equal to 1 to k is equal to n ok minus o whole square. So this difference indicates the deviation. Okay. So as we are going to be taking the n number of measurements, we will be having n number of deviations. Okay. And this is the histogram, so which tells about the what is the Gaussian probability density function. So what is the value of the Gaussian probability density function? So in this case, we are going to be taking the pressure transducer. So in order to estimate what is the amount of error present in the pressure transducer, or in order to or if you want to calibrate the pressure transducer, so just we can do the same error calculation and calibrating the transducer by seeing this curve here. So in this curve, we are taking the pressure on the x-axis and the Gaussian probability density function can be taken on the y-axis. So the Gaussian probability density function P of naught is equal to the probability by the interval width. So the interval width means the smallest pressure that can be measured by the pressure transducer can be taken as the interval width. So in this case, 0.005 psi is taken as the smallest pressure that can be measured by the pressure transducer. So the probability by the smallest interval is 0.005. So coming to probability, so what is probability? So it is the ratio of the number of times the event is going to be occurred to the total number of trials. So here the total number of trials are from 0.97 to 1.03. So vertically, if you take the on the y-axis, so if you take the range like 0.97 to 0.975, so that will be occurring this number of times here. So 0.98 to 0.985, that is going to be occurred this number of times. So in this way, for each range there is a chance of occurring some minimum number of times here. So if you take 0.995 to 1.00, that this range is going to be occurring large number of times compared to the previous cases here. If you take any other interval, so 0.995 to 1.00, this is going to be occurring large number of times here. Okay, so that is taken as the number of times the event is going to be occurring. That is 0.995 to 1.00 is going to be occurring large number of times divided by total number of trials. So total number of trials means we are going to be comparing this from 0.97 to 1.03 with an increment of 0.005. So then how many number of intervals we are going to be getting, that can be taken as the denominator part of the probability. So from that equation we will be getting the probability. So then probability density function is equal to the probability value by the smallest interval that can be measured by PT, pressure transfer, that is 0.005. That gives the probability density function. So from this probability density function, we can estimate the error that is present in the any instrument, as well as we can do the calibration process also, whether that calibration is going to be good or not. That can be justified by seeing this histogram curve or the Gaussian probability density function. Okay. Thank you.